Right. Hello, hello. Um, so we're gonna try doing a kind of there's air quotes happening right now, a video version of a portfolio review, so that people can kind of it'll be really easy for people to kind of hear my ideas for each picture. You don't have to flip back and forth or go over to the next tile to read what's going on. It might not work, but I think it's worth a try. So today, we're doing the portfolio review for Lauren E. Poole, who is, stunningly gorgeous person. I mean, that's kind of taken for granted here, and you can see she's very pretty. But in part, what we're talking about is the right choices to keep in your portfolio, the right choices to kind of maybe not keep so much in your portfolio. And just right off the top, these are just my opinions, so it's not the be-all and end-all of anything. I mean, my opinion counts for zero. And if you don't want to listen to it, completely fine. But if you do, then you can kind of keep on looking as I start to flick up different images, and that'll be that. So here we go. So for the first image, I really like the way you look in this image. It's not a watermark, but text on top of it. It's a professional looking overlay of text though, so I think that's completely okay. The crop of the head and the elbow kind of works in it, so that's not a bad thing. But I think everything is kind of cropped off, so you lose part of the foot, you lose part of the leg, you lose part of the elbow, you lose part of the head. It's a very nice picture. It's well processed. The black and white is just done really sharply. A little bit flattening out for details on the face, but that would be about the only downside to it. So definitely could be a keeper within your portfolio. Let me move over. Now the next two images, they look like they're from the same photo shoot as that previous one. So for me, I would likely keep these, or at least one of these, in the portfolio and maybe drop the previous one, because I don't always love to see repetition of images, and if there are going to be the same images in a portfolio, you want to space them out. But comparing it to the first one, I actually kind of like the vibe of the first one more, even though I'm not super in love with the crop. So both could definitely stay, but if you did want to start paring things down, if you started just getting more work in your portfolio and you just kind of wanted to streamline things, I would probably pick the ones that you feel are strongest between those two, and then you can kind of move on. The light on the image on the right-hand side of this is really, really nice. The processing obviously stays as solid for both of these, so this was a really nice shoot for you. It makes you look fantastic. It looks like it's a professionally done job, and that's really what you want to have. Just having that type of image inside of your portfolio leads to more of that type of image inside of your portfolio. Kind of put in there what you want to see. Nice tear sheet image here with the blowout of the white towards the left. Very strong. Once again, great color work. You look fantastic. The color in your eye is great. I really like the way they kind of didn't overdo it with the flare, but you kind of have that bleed out of white. And still another tear sheet image, which is nice. It shows that you're a working model and that you have some professional background to it. Really just a solid piece to keep within your portfolio. I think it's a great image, and I really like your connection with the camera. I like the shadowing. I like that it's a faint shadowing, nothing's too heavy. And here I have a little bit more of a sense for the details in your face, so you can see how sharp your eyes are. You can really get a nice mood out of it. So I think this is a wonderful picture. I would choose this image as a portfolio image for you, just because it really is just one-on-one, you and the camera. It really just engages the viewer very strongly, which is nice to see. It eliminates all the stuff that you really don't need to see. Like a lot of people, when you do a portrait shoot, there's a lot of background or elements that don't really aid the picture, and here they just kind of one-on-one, zoomed in on you. We see that your eyes are great, we see that your features are great. It's not overdone, so we still have details within your skin. We still see pores and things of that nature, which probably sounds bad, but it really isn't. The bottom of the frame, a little slightly on the dull end of things, but they've kept your eyes in the top third of the frame, which is where you want to be if you want to kind of have an engaging portrait. And that dead center really works here. I like the propping. I think it's very nice. You're really looking sharp in black and white. The next image is kind of just more of that, looking sharp in black and white. For me, I just like the outfit on it, and I do like that you're doing something slightly different with the pose, and your makeup is slightly different than it usually is. Now, for me, I think having something along these lines is strong and works very well. It directly against a wall, portraits can tend to look a little bit on the not so professional side, but here they've done a great job of controlling your shadow. I like that not every single wisp of hair has been cloned out, which is something that a lot of people do. And this makes it just seem more like a real picture. You don't start to question like, oh, did they change absolutely everything about her face? Because there are things that are, air quotes again, flaws in little bits of hair that everybody has kind of going everywhere in what I'm guessing is a wind machine. So keeping that allows people to know that you just look like this, which I think is wonderful, especially if you're somebody who's trying to book a job. You can have a little bit of faith that what you're seeing is real. So once again, very sharp picture. This I really liked because it's a bit of a divergence from what you normally see in people's portfolios. And it's a very... experimental is not quite the right word. It's a very graphic type of image. I think it could go a little bit further with some higher levels of contrast, which would really make it pop out a bit more. Because it's angular, almost geisha-ish, and your pose really plays that up. So I like to see it in your portfolio out of the stuff that you have. I think showing that you can do different sides of things is really nice. But for me, the little details kind of fall apart slightly. Like the wall is not quite upright. The angle of the wall is tilting slightly into the frame. And the architectural angles in the background also don't quite lead anywhere. There's a lot of angles and there's a lot of lines, but they don't lead perfectly. I'd say that the overhead box ceiling does a good job of kind of leading into your headline there, but the rest of the angles in the shot just are a little helter-skelter. So a shot like this would be great, especially if there was like another take of this shot where it was just a little bit finer. But in terms of how you look in it, the lighting across your face is fantastic. I like the propping. I love the hair, like purple hair, so that's good. And everything about it is really sharp. I just wish that there was a little bit more contrast. Maybe the background could be slightly darker or just a little bit more attention to the angles within it. But I like where they were going with it. I think things like this are nice to have in there, but maybe this one in particular, as you start to pile on more and more quality shots, might not be around forever. But for right now, I think it's a very nice image. So I guess this is a Christmas image, but I like it now. I really like the red tones, especially the little ribbon across the brim of the hat. And the hair is well done. Different hair and you get along super well. And a little bit heavy on the processing for the face, but I think it's kind of part of the vibe of the shoot, so that's okay. I would really just like to see it cropped a little bit more so that the white band on the right hand side of the frame just wasn't there, because I don't think it adds anything to it. Just zooming in here. And then that darkness would frame you up on both sides and you'd kind of pop off in the middle. That's nitpicky, but I think it would make for a stronger image. But I do like what you look like in it. I think the eyes were a little bit over-processed, but I mean, if that's the vibe of the shoot, then that's cool. And that's kind of just a personal thing that I enjoy, or for me, is the way things would like to be. So once again, if this is the goal that they were going for with that kind of processed look and it was part of a story along with some other images, that's completely cool. But for me, I'm not too sure if the processing is quite right, but I do like you in it quite a bit. Now the paint, well, you had a couple of images that looked like they were for a paint advertisement, paint commercial type of thing. This is the one in particular that I love the most. I think right up after this I have another one that I think is fantastic. The wide crop is nice, but I think if it was kind of more of a traditional portrait crop with the 4:5 type of a ratio but vertical, cutting out those sides, those two blank white sides, which don't really add too much to the picture, would be great. And I don't think anybody would kill you if you just kind of cropped it yourself and put it in your portfolio. I mean, who's gonna know? But like, I just think the framing of it would present you even better and allow you to be better with it, bigger within the frame, especially online. But apart from that, I think this is a very sharp image. Here, I love the processing of the eyes. I love the way the processing was done for this. It really makes the color pop. It's kind of got that implied nude to it, and it's a little racy. It's really different, and it's super well done. Here, I wouldn't mind seeing just a little bit more of that perfection in the post where they clean up every single hair, because it would be kind of surreal. But still, the way it is, very strong, and it's an image I would like to see stick around in your portfolio, because this is it's a wonderful shot, and I really like a lot of things about it. And then kind of along the same lines, the follow-up picture here with kind of more from what I'm assuming is the same shoot. Similar things to say. I mean, just nice to have such different pictures in there. And it kind of continues on along the lines of a surreal, different vibe for the type of images you put together. And if that's the type of thing you'd like to see in your portfolio in the future, and I would think that it should be because they're fantastic, then definitely having things like this in there is the way to do it. Now, the image of you lying down, the red, the black, the faint blue in the shadows, the graphic lines of the shadows kind of going across your body and framing you on the top and the bottom of you, and then what look like Ben-Day dots fading out is absolutely just a very beautiful image. I wish I had a version of it with a higher resolution. That's really the only complaint I have, because I'd like to make it bigger. So it kind of shows up as a small resolution, and if you had a better, larger, more detailed file of it, then put that up, yes, please, because it's absolutely wonderful. I have nothing to say to change about this. It's just very nice. And what would I say to change? Your pose is great. That vibe that you have, it's like you're from the movie Metropolis. That's old, and people don't necessarily get that reference, but that's a great movie, and you are just like a modern version of that. I absolutely love this picture. I don't want to see this picture go anyplace. Like, it should be locked into your portfolio for a good long time. The only thing I would say is make sure you have a really nice resolution version of it so people can appreciate it. And this image of you on the bed with the lavender accents on the bed, I like it because it's a traditional glamour shot, and you have the looks to definitely do that. And even though most people can't be like a jack of all trades, you can't be the right model for every job, you definitely have a great deal of range. So having an image like this, which is just kind of beautiful and understated and soft, just a nice soft image like this, I think that's a great thing to have in your portfolio. Once again, very strong. I wouldn't fiddle with it. Nicely done. Extremely well lit. Doesn't have harsh shadows. The makeup is nicely done. You have great eye contact and that kind of soft, peachy purple lip with more lavender and then little bits. It's all very nicely done. I really like this picture a great deal. Now, those are my likes. Then if there were a couple of images that I would say should probably be going from your portfolio, then it would be these next few. And really, I always determine like what I think is a not so keeper image based upon what you have that's really good. So if you have images that are extremely good, like you do, then having images that are a little bit weaker only work to pull it down. And for somebody else earlier on in their career, these images might be great images. But for you, I don't think they are anymore. So, not going to go super into detail and be ultra negative about stuff, because it's really not that. But just small things like in the first image, the way that the hair kind of interferes with your features and just makes it too busy to really be a good thing. And the bottom of the frame, the way that the lighting is, just makes for a kind of bag underneath the eye type of an effect. And it's just not very flattering, that kind of dappled light where you have burnouts across parts of the hair and parts of the shoulder, but not in a controlled way. So for me, not so much of a winner. And the watermarks not helping, because there's the copyright watermark and then a human ad watermark with a copyright sign next to it. So yeah, not really necessary too much. I like that you do experimental things in it, but here I just don't feel like the overall effect of the image came together as well as I'd like it to see come together. And particularly the hair, actually I think the work done on the jewels is really cool, and I think it could have been brought into a really neat direction. But there's a lot of not too active material at the bottom of the frame. And then at the top of the frame, the hair was just kind of more of an afterthought in it, and it wasn't styled kind of the way the paint shoot that you've done that I really love was styled. So since you already have a you and paint type of shoot that's really good, it kind of means that this you and paint type of shoot just doesn't need to be there as much. Here, this looks a lot like a snapshot, and I just don't think it adds anything to your portfolio. And it's not one of the better images of you, and it's not super well finished. And it's cute, but it doesn't add anything. And unless you really wanted to do like a series of shoots like this, then I would just say it could now be removed from your portfolio. The foreground blur of what I think is a candy apple is taking up a lot of this picture, but I'm not even sure it's a candy apple. And I don't think a lot of people would be sure it's a candy apple. Otherwise, you look really good, but I just don't think this picture with the blurred, shiny, red lollipop, jumbo lollipop, or candy apple is a keeper. And then you on a whole just seem to do kind of, I'm going to say artsy, but that's the wrong word, kind of experimental type of shoots. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. But this one, once again, it just doesn't have that polished of a finish shoot. I mean, the polish of a finish shoot. The face makeup is actually fantastic. It's just kind of the other odds and ends that I think, just not quite right there right now. It's just not stapled down. And I think they were trying to whiten up the shadows to kind of get it to be high key, but what it ends up having are kind of weird smudges and streaks on the edge of things. And I just think probably for you now, having something that's poorly produced like this, it just doesn't really make any sense for your portfolio. And then for slightly different reasons, this is just a snapshot again, and I think the outfit is really cool, but unless everything comes together in a picture, then the weakest thing always brings down the best thing. So, really cool outfit, and you're kind of starting to work a pose, and face-wise, I actually really like the expression, but it's just a snapshot underneath a trellis at what looks like an apartment complex condo type of complex. And it doesn't do anything. It's not a picture. It's just it's like a happy snap, which is cool for you, like for you personally to have. But in a portfolio, if you're looking for somebody to look at it, I mean, I think you always have to think about presenting what is absolutely your best, and then keeping what's just kind of a snapshot for you to see, kind of personally. But on a whole, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that you're on a super good path in terms of creating work, making fantastic work, looking good, and doing good things. You're making some nice choices in terms of the projects that you're taking on. And it's not a question of really changing a great deal of what you do. I mean, you're really doing a nice job with posing. You're doing a great job with interacting with the camera and making people feel a connection with you. I think really and it's usually the case with most people, it's really just really becoming your own editor, becoming an extremely good editor. And if it's great, you show it. And if it's not so great, then it just doesn't get shown. And like if you could get your portfolio down to 10 pictures, people should be able to go to your website or go to your Mayhem port. It's all the same. Wherever you decide to show prospective clients your work, it should be a short 10 to 15 image type of deal, and they should know this is the girl that I want to be working with. And they do want to work with you because you're great. You just have to show them the absolute best because that's what you want to do in the future. And that was rambly. And I don't fully know if I can put up this long of a video, but I will try because I just spent this much time doing it. So thanks very much for submitting your work. And I'm going to keep sneaking around your portfolio from time to time just to see where your work has kind of gone and how you've grown, because I think you look absolutely fantastic in pictures. You're a lovely person. And once again, thank you for helping out with the site and letting us see what you do.